the transition came right after our son got in a motorcycle accident, right? So we're dealing with coming out of the military, we're dealing with grief, we're dealing with all these other problems that we never really dealt with before. And, you know, I would say we were both hurting, and then we just didn't know how to deal with it, you know, so.
Hey, what's up, guys? So today's episode is brought to you by our proud sponsor, Elevated Silence. This is one of my favorite sponsors, not only because Jim Hood is a very dear, close friend of mine. He's been on this podcast several times, but because I am an avid user of this product. As you guys know, I love to go to the range. I love to train civilians and law enforcement, and this is a suppressor that I use each and every time I go to the range. I can tell you this, every time I bring it out, I get nothing but compliments of just how quiet it is. You know, people are always looking for these differences in suppressors. You know, they want it lightweight, but with lightweight, it's probably going to be a little bit louder. The heavier the weight, it's going to be quieter. And I think Jim has found the perfect combination of both, which is why I love this suppressor. He makes everything from 22 to 300 Norma. So if you guys are looking for a suppressor for your rifle or pistol, be sure to check Elevated Silence out. Use the code SMS15 to get 15% off. And also he has some awesome merch for these red hats and this red shirt right now. If you purchase it, a percentage of the proceeds goes to the American Suppressor Association, which will defend your rights to be able to use suppressors as you should, as any American should. All right. Thank you, and God bless.
All right, welcome back to Shoot Me Straight podcast. Today we are going to continue our Truth About Transition series that we have sort of taken a break from for a little bit just due to life circumstances, but we're back. And those of you who have not listened to this before, the Truth About Transition, it's not the transition that you're thinking of. It's the transition of getting out of the military or what law enforcement or whatever job that you've done for a certain amount of time. And we talk about the struggles of doing that, the struggles that individuals face and couples face, and just how they overcome them. And I'm honored today to have Terry and right? Yes.
Chastity.
Right. Chastity, but is that a nickname or
No, that's her full name, Chastity, but Chas is just like short.
Yeah, because you were texting me that. I was like, okay, it's Chas. Chastity. So, Terry, we've had you on a couple times already, and we sort of went through your whole story. So for the listeners, if you guys want to go back and listen to that, it's a pretty amazing story. Actually, it's one of the better interviews that I did. And just when you were on here talking about that, everything that you've been through, I couldn't help, but think, like, not only have you gone through all that, but your wife as well, who's been with you pretty much the whole time, and which is why I wanted to get you guys both on here and sort of talk about from the beginning, like when you guys met, and then just sort of you can go over just your career again. But we can hear it from Chastity's voice and just everything that she's been through, because I know the spouses, and we know personally that the spouses serve just as much as the men or women that are serving in the military, and all the struggles that come with it, and all the sacrifices that come with it as well. So we're both glad to have you guys on here. I'll let you guys kick it off to sort of, if you guys want to start from the beginning, from where you guys met.
Yeah, that'd be good. Now you can help me remember some of the stuff. Some of these other ones here, I'm like, maybe, I think we were 18, 20. Help me remember a little bit better. So we met, it was actually at a bus stop. Was that in Middletown?
In Middletown.
Middletown, Missouri.
Oh.
It's like I think it was a population of what, like
215 people. It's very,
dang.
very rural. So I mean, we were destined to meet. It was going to happen.
So I relocated there after some trouble that I had in the city, and then kind of ran out of places to stay. So they're like, "Hey, you go stay with your grandmothers in the country." So
how old were you at this time?
Man, what was I?
14.
15 years old. Yeah. So I was just a young kid. So we left there, went to Middletown, Missouri, and we met there at the bus stop. And then that was in middle school?
Yes.
Right. So we dated off and on during that time, and then started really. Actually, I was friends with her brother.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't have anywhere to stay because I messed up staying with my grandmother, right? Just kind of so I was actually living with them quite a little bit at her parents', and I was friends with her brother, her older brother, and we would hang out, and then they let me pretty much like live there, they moved me in, right? And then they found out me and her started dating, and they're like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You got to go, right?
You wore out your welcome.
Yeah, you wore
I'm noticing a pattern.
Yeah,
here,
exactly,
Terry.
right? So then they're like, they kicked us out, or kicked me out, and then she's like, well, if he's leaving, I'm leaving. So then I left, or she left, and then we, at that point, we bought a house.
Wow.
It was, you can explain the house.
It was a very tiny little shack. And like when we say we bought a house, it was no big, this is a wonderful thing, because like I think the house cost like $30,000. I mean,
Wow.
we got a little loan. I went on to nursing school at that time, and he like signed up to go into the military because at that point we were 18. I just graduated high school.
Wow.
So he signed up for like a delayed entry program. I was in nursing school and finishing that up, and we were in this little bitty shacky house.
Dang. So you guys bought a house before 18 years old, or at 18 years old?
About 18 years old, yeah.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yeah, but it was like the floors, like it didn't have really flooring. It had like it was like rolling floors. Like you could part of like the wood, and then part of the dirt was in there. It was bad. The walls were like plaster walls. So if you remember the old plaster walls, like if they had gotten wet or something,
Yeah.
they bulged out. So the walls were like depth, like bulged out. It was a
Most every night I was like, is this going to be the night that carbon monoxide gets us?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So I mean, it was a rough,
So,
it was a rough
yeah.
place.
Yeah.
But, we knew that we were getting ready to join the military, and we were going to be moving on and going. So that place was very short-lived.
Did
So-
you have any idea, like, did you have military in your family, or like what
No.
military life would be like?
No, I had no idea.
Okay.
So, but you remember that movie, The Officer and the Gentleman, right? So, like, this is the idea in my head. Like, I'm gonna be like the lady from The Officer.
else to go except for the shack.
So like that old housing is like what I had in mind, and like, okay, they're gonna be in like the dress up uniforms and this kind of thing. That is not what we ended up. We ended up in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for our first duty station, and I mean it was. We didn't know any better, but at the time it was great.
Yeah.
We were fresh little babies, like in our late teens, going into our early 20s, and just figuring it out.
Yeah, so when I was in AIT, she went out there and got a rental property right outside. So we stayed out.
AIT
off
is
post.
Advanced Infantry Training.
Yeah, AIT is like advanced. What are they? What's the I? It's not infantry, but it's like every MOS is called AIT now.
Okay.
Right? It was then. I don't know if they changed it now, but it was just whatever your MOS was. That was what your.
I gotcha.
When I came in as an MP, so I was doing my MP training at that time.
Gotcha.
Military police.
Yeah,
right?
military
Yep.
police. Yep. So she had bought a house right outside the back gate in what was that town back? What was that? I can't remember it, but it was right outside of Fort Leonard Wood. But it was in the back gate.
Yeah,
So-
we were just renting until you finished, and then we ended up living on base.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we went on base for a while. So.
Yeah, the old military housing.
Oh yeah, military housing. Yeah, everybody knows how great military housing is.
Oh yeah, I grew up
But-
in military housing. Yeah, but we lived in San Diego, and that was
Yeah,
the
in
nicest
Guatemala.
military housing. Like, but
So-
that was about it.
So for us, it was an upgrade from plaster walls. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
Sounds like.
that's right. We can only go up from here.
they're like that black mold. Nah, it's fine. Don't worry about that.
And it was fun, actually, because we were young, and we were surrounded by other very young couples, like
Right.
in the housing around us. So we started developing friendships, and there's a few that we still talk to from your early days as an MP.
Yeah.
Still, which is nice. They actually came to his retirement ceremony.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, it was a good time. We had a good time initially, and then the deployments started happening.
Okay.
Yeah. So then September 11th, when September 11th hit,
You were about a year and a half, 2 years into service at that point, right?
Yeah, because I got in the military. Actually, I got to my unit September 11th of 2000, like 1 year right after, right a year before September 11th.
Okay.
So I was there for a year. We were actually doing an obstacle course when September 11th happened, and I heard it on the radio. And we were training up for a competition. And I heard it on the radio, and then from there, it was just like game on for the next 20 plus years. You know?
So you came in 99 then, right?
I came in a delayed entry program, in 99.
Okay, cool.
But then I actually, my enlistment started in April of 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's when my enlistment started. So, and then I deployed as an MP to Qatar when they originally did went into Iraq. And then I went to Iraq for a little bit as an MP, and then I was assigned to an SF unit, or SF unit was like their bias, and I was like, all right, that's it, that's what I want to do. So
yeah, you got a little taste.
got a little taste,
Yeah,
seeing
but
what those
you're
guys
like,
have
that's where I
done,
wanna
and I'm
go.
like, that's what I want to do. Yeah. So then
How was that for you on the first deployment? Like, obviously being new to the military, and then 9/11 happening, so you know that there's a war going on, and it's sending him off.
Yeah, it was hard. It was very scary. And then a lot of the friends that we had made, like the spouses, they went home, like when the guys deployed. So, but we were so close to home, like there was really nowhere for me to go back to. I didn't want to go back to like, the shack. So I stayed and I worked, but it was difficult. It was lonely. Of course, you're worrying about the safety. You're sad for the things that they're missing out on. But of course, trying to like take over everything at the same time. So. And it was a long one, too, because he wasn't Special Forces at that time. So it was like the regular, like over 12-month deployment, like
it was
with the
long.
military police. It was
That's
very,
a long time.
it was a very, very long one. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this what the rest of this is going to be like? Because, it was just
That's a
very,
long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then at that point, we had Jacob and Courtney. So I had, the two young babies and just navigating life. It was just very sad and lonely. However, we were only 2 hours from home. So I was able to go back and see my family. They were able to come and visit us. They did that a couple times during that deployment. But it was a very scary time, and just the world was different then.
Yeah.
We didn't know what to expect after 9/11 happened and what exactly we were getting into.
yeah, and that trip also wasn't, obviously I was in Qatar like doing a gate.
Yeah, we weren't in like
zero
combat.
kinetic. Yeah, never, no combat, nothing at all. But even when you tell them like, hey, no, it's not that bad, like everybody automatically thinks that it's worse than what it is too, because nobody knows kind of what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
So-
everybody I think in the States they thought, oh, if you're leaving, you're going to war.
Yeah,
and
not
it's
the
like
case.
that's not the case. It's you get
Well, there's so many functions in the military
Yeah.
that, like
Yeah.
you said, you weren't really in combat. But then, so how did you progress from after that deployment? How was the process getting into special operations, or was that quickly after that?
After I went to that second trip, when I went as an MP, and we actually went into Iraq, that's when I was with the ODA, SF guys, and I'm like, that's what I want to do, right? Because we seen those guys on that trip. I seen those guys come back and forth from Afghanistan. Like one of the gates that we guard, it was like the SOCOM, right? So like we had all the entry points coming in. So I'm seeing all these guys, everybody from SOCOM, NSW, MARSOC wasn't a thing at that time, but all the SF guys, like, you know what I mean, the CAG guys coming in and out, and I'm sitting here at a gate, and these guys are just coming off operations, like they're salty, they're dirty, and I'm like, there's more that I can do. Like this is not, I didn't come here to do this. Like, you know what I mean? So that's why I was like, all right, that's what I'm gonna do. So I started training actually when I was in downrange. So it was whatever I could. You know what I mean? I just started training whatever I could. And then when I got back, I started training more, went to the SF recruiter, and he gave me a pamphlet, a booklet, says, hey, this is what you need to do to train up on it. And then I just started executing that, And I remember talking to Chas before I went. I'm like, hey, this is something I want to do, what do you think? Do you support me or whatever? Obviously she's like, yep, I support you 100%. And then just went for it.
Yeah. Was there a selling point when you told her you're gonna? Because I imagine like after a year-long deployment, it's like, okay, is this what, like you were talking about? Is this what we want to do for the rest of our lives? But then when you chose to do like, hey, I'm gonna go be a Green Beret. I mean, be like, hey, the deployments are only gonna be half of what I just did. You know, trying to like sell it a little bit, or were you just full on like, no, I support you?
Yeah, so like everything that I've done, I would say, I don't know if it's because like you 100% support it, or if you're like, it won't be that bad. Either way, she's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Maybe the
You don't know
reality.
what you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
but she's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, sure, why not? Like, so.
Yeah, going into the abyss.
Yeah, going into the abyss. So, and then I think to a certain point, like when I get something in my head, like, I mean, you kind of know, like
Yeah, if it's there and it's his will and it's going to be done, it's going to happen. So like, let's just figure out a way to
Right.
move forward with this. Is kind of my stance on a lot of things. I mean, I definitely want to be able to support him and wanted to. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like what is this going to be? But as you said, I don't know where along the lines, but I did hear at some point deployments are typically shorter with special forces people. They may deploy more frequently,
Sure.
but it's
Yeah,
shorter
that's the-
deployments.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't recall him ever saying, "Hey, it's going to be like that." But somewhere along the line, I did hear that. And I
Well,
was
you
like,
probably
oh.
didn't know either, really, right?
No, so there was like, obviously those guys weren't there as long as we were, so you kind of knew a little bit. A lot of it was rumorville back there because you didn't have that same kind of. I mean, kids listening to here, like for information, you used to have to read books. So like everything,
It's a little different.
everything that I learned about anything was in a book. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
rumorville
Yep.
from some other guy who actually didn't make it through selection. Because the guys that made it, I didn't know any of them.
Right.
You know, so like you're going through, even the SF recruiters there weren't even SF guys. Majority of them weren't even SF guys. They weren't even SF qualified. Because those SF guys were out doing combat
Doing work,
operations.
yeah.
Right? They're just some guy that was either going to selection or whatever. He just they kind of knew a
So
little
it's
bit.
like
on
blind leading the blind a little
exactly,
bit.
yeah. It was blind leading the blind. So everything that I knew about SF, I read out of books that I got.
Yeah. So like, I guess you had no concept of like, okay, this is what the cycles are going to be, and nobody did back then, anyways, because nobody knew how long the war was going to keep going, right? But yeah, it's funny because when we got back together, because we were best friends in high school, and then sort of went our separate ways for like 5 years, and then reconnected. And by that time, I had just got done with being a SEAL training, and I just got done with 18 Delta. And then I was heading back to my first duty station, and like she had no idea, you know, really what a SEAL was or anything. But even then, like I couldn't, you know, I told her, like, yeah, that's what I am, but I don't know what to expect because I'm going to check into my team. So there was no way for like to lay it out, be like, this is what life is going to be like. It was sort of just like, you're going to go into the abyss with me? Let's go. Yeah.
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 Yeah, for sure. So I did the SF qualification course. Man, what year was that? Was that 2002, 2003?
Yeah, it
timeframe?
was 03, 04, because there for a while after you did selection.
Yeah, I went to selection 2004 because I remember the Cardinals were in the World Series.
Yeah,
And they got beat by Boston Red Sox.
yeah,
And I was pissed.
yeah. But after selection and we moved to Bragg, things were actually pretty stable for a couple years as you were doing like all the training up and everything. So it was nice and steady there for a while. Like you would go for little like trainings, few weeks here and there at a time, but no deployments for a little bit.
That was like 2 years because, of course, at that point, I think they streamlined a lot better, but I think it took me about 2 years to get through. Yeah, because I went to selection October 2004, and I didn't get to my unit until 2007, end of 2006, beginning of
dang.
2007, and 7th
Yeah.
group. So all that time, like obviously I came back to Fort Leonard Wood for a small amount of time. It wasn't long though, a couple months, and then PCS to Fort Bragg, and then went through the qualification course. But it was about 2 year long. The course was.
Yeah. And you guys, so you guys were both in Fayetteville at the
Yeah.
time during that?
Yeah, so while he was, I advanced my career while he was there stable, not going anywhere, which was great. It was good for me to be able to get that done and knocked out. Because, you know, you just can't do things like that whenever they're gone. But everything was really good, and then started deploying. So I was thinking this is going to be really good. You know, it wasn't bad at all. He was home, not going anywhere, little trips here and there, and it was manageable. You know, we were just living life, and we did buy a very normal house in Bragg, which was was wonderful. It was, you know, first real very nice home, and you know, coming from very poor rural St. Louis-ish area, it's outside of St. Louis anyway. It was very nice.
Yeah. Step up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 Couple steps.
So what
steps
did
up.
the
I know.
op tempo look like after you finally made it through? And
So for me, I went to 7th Special Forces Group, and I got there. I told this story before, but when I got to 7th Group, I didn't take leave. So like normally, I don't know how they do it in the SEALs teams or whatever, but after you complete your training, they give you leave and permissive TDY, which would be like 45 days, right, before you have to sign into your unit. I didn't take any of that. I took enough. It took like 3 days, however many days it took me to get from Fort Bragg. Well, actually, we were in Fort Bragg, so I didn't have to take anything because we were already there. Like I was at 7th Group.
Yeah,
I did my
'cause 7th
training
Group used to be
was
at
at
Fort
Bragg,
Bragg,
so
yeah.
I didn't even have to do any of that. And then so I took maybe a day or two, and then I signed into my unit because I was trying to beat the flow of students coming to 7th Group, right? So when I got there and I went to the unit, they were like, "Hey, what?" They're like, "What company or what battalion am I going to?" I'm like, the CSM don't have you slotted for anywhere. Where do you want to go? I knew nothing about the battalions or the companies or the culture from one or the other. And I'm like, well, which one's going to Afghanistan? And they're like, 1st Battalion. So I'm like, that's where I want to go. I'm like, when are they leaving? They're like, they're leaving next month. And I'm like, that's where, you know what I mean? So like, a lot of that's like self-induced, right?
Yeah.
You come here and you're like, this is what I come to do.
Well,
Let's do it.
you wouldn't pick that job if that's not what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that's the juxtaposition of it all. It's like, yeah, I want to go to war.
Yeah.
Like, send me now.
Yeah.
You know.
Especially guys coming in during that time,
Yeah.
the GWAT time. Guys coming in during the GWAT time, like that was the whole purpose of coming in, you know. So we get over there, and I get to the unit. They're in PMT, and get on a team right then. And I was deployed within like not very long.
Yeah, it wasn't long at all.
Yeah, maybe 30, 45 days from getting to group.
Yeah. Was that a shock to you, or was that like, okay, this is what we're doing?
Yeah. It was definitely like, okay, well, here we go. We're settling up for this now. Let's move forward and do what we have to do. So we just made our arrangements and tried to make sure everything was in line and in order for him to be gone and me to take over and manage the house.
Yep.
right.
Yeah, that was my initial trip to where I went from the deployments that I went in the conventional army as an MP, and that first trip to as a GB was straight to Fob Rob to Helmand Province. Did 10 months there.
I spent some time there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bob
and I'm
Robinson.
just like the first deployment, and I'm like, holy shit, like this is real, you know.
Yeah.
Totally different experience, you know. So like that was kinetic operations. So there was a big, I would say a big change, like internally. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
For me personally, like coming home after that first deployment. That first deployment was rough.
Yeah. Did you notice a change when he came back, or something different?
A little bit, yes. He does a very good job of like keeping me sheltered. So, I mean, there are so many things like throughout his military career that I did not even know occurred until just within the last few years. Just him just now starting to express and be vocal about his career. So I think just to kind of keep me from being scared and worrying so much, like there was a lot of things that I was in the dark
Yeah.
with the majority of it.
But you could see like a little switch or something change
Yeah.
a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's normal. I think that happened with us as well. I don't know, after maybe the second deployment to Afghanistan, I think there was a difference when you don't know, or you do know, I guess, but you don't. But then the spouses can see it, and
Yeah. Well, I think internally there's certain things that like you have to do that job effectively in certain kinetic operations in certain areas. You have to, I hate to say it, but a part of your humanity goes away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a part that is, I'm here to do a job. I need to do this job effectively. Like I cannot, you know, I have to distance myself from some emotional feelings that the normal person would probably have during those times.
Yeah, you become a master at compartmentalization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that, and then getting home, it's difficult to. I mean, nobody trains you how to like do that, and then come back and be like, oh, okay, now you can feel again, like, or now you can like, or how do you deal with those?
Right.
You know, those things that you bottle up and whatever. So that I think that has a hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely difficult, and I think that we learned through the course of that, both of us, that the emotional intelligence piece is shut off. Because then when you're shutting off the emotions of like pain or fear or anger, or you lose somebody, then you're shutting off joy and happiness and connection, which we definitely learned. Like there was a very weird balance of like, he's here, but he's not. You know what I mean? And that's very much how I think we kind of experienced. Like, again, he was a great husband and father, but there was definitely like, almost like, you know, you hear that ringing in you're like, are you with us?
Yeah.
And it was definitely harder for him to, and I don't even think you kind of see it. I don't know if you felt that way, or you're at such a high op tempo sometimes in those work up, deployment. I don't even think, and you're having young kids, you're caring for the kids. It's almost like they're adults. And yes, of course, you want to have that bond and that relationship. But there was a lot of times where I'm like, I can't manage him. I still say that, don't I?
Yeah.
He's unmanageable, but.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't. I mean, from like you can look back now. Like I can look back now and see it and be like, oh, dude, it's like little instances when I came back and like we go out and, you know, like when we went out with our neighbors and that guy. It's like there's no thought process. It's like that's a threat. Boom, like knocking it. It's nothing, you know. And then you get in these little skirmishes or whatever, or just how you act at home. Like, and I'm looking back now, it's like, yeah, there was issues but that's what you're trained to. You're constantly in that mode, and even though you think you're not, you're like, I'm good, I'm back home, but you're still in, like, I'm going back, and I need to stay this way.
For me, a lot of things. This is what I had the hardest part too. Is like everything in the teams is all performance based, right? So when somebody's not performing, whether it's a civilian or they're disrespectful or they're not, or even some of your family members at the same level as your team guys do, you don't understand it. At least for me, I'm like, I don't understand it. Like, why are you not performing? Why do you not understand respect? Why do you not understand this, right? And then that came from a lot of conflict with civilians, with inside the family. You know what I mean? And you're like, it's hard.
Yeah.
You know? So, and then that's where you get a lot of agitation and that. I'm like, it's tough.
Yeah.
Very tough.
So then you came back from that deployment, obviously, and then probably started right into another training cycle to deploy again.
Yeah. As soon as we came back from that deployment, that was 2007 to 2008 was that trip. That was about 10 months trip. We come back. I went to SODIC, I think they call it Special Forces Sniper Course at that time. And then during that time, we came back. I did the Special Forces Sniper Course. I did PMT and then deployed again, right back to FOB Rob for another 10 months. So that from 2008 to 2009. So our break in between those two was like minimal because I was in SODIC, and then we came back and went to PMT, and I think PMT was in Nevada. PMT was, I think, like 30 days, maybe 2 weeks, I don't remember. So it was like back to back.
Yeah.
On those two. And then that one was tough because you're just going back to the same place you were just at. And then that trip, we were supposed to be back for Christmas, and then they extended we were supposed to be back before Christmas. It was October-November timeframe. They extended our stay there so the group that was replacing us could have Christmas home. So we didn't get back to like January, February timeframe. When did I come back? Oh, we were furious. Like we were already there, and they're like, Do you know what I mean? And you're like, we've already done a 10-month deployment, or I don't remember what it was, 8 months, 9 months, whatever, and they extended it a couple
That's the
more
Wow.
months.
worst. Yeah.
So like, yeah, we were not happy with our counterparts that like. I mean, it wasn't their decision, but it's one of those things.
Yeah, well, it's one of. I mean, usually at the last month of deployment, it's the hardest because you're like, okay, they never give you an exact date when you're leaving, but they're like around about this time. But then that can get extended 2-3 weeks, out of nowhere, and it's just like it's a frustrating thing. And then you get tired of telling the spouse like. Hey, this is the date that I'll be home, and that doesn't work because then she's frustrated, and you're like, okay, I'm just not even like. At a certain point, you learn like, I'm not going to say anything when I'm around these months is when I'll be home, or around this time.
So she kept the Christmas tree up, and the Christmas presents were there, and she didn't have Christmas until I got home. It was like January, February timeframe.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That is
I don't remember
awesome.
how the kids were still
Yeah,
young.
how did you keep the kids?
I think, Santa Claus comes late to our house.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were still very young.
Yeah, they're pretty young, so they didn't know exactly kind of. So they bought it.
Yeah. So this is like a decade into his service, and then at that time you're also advancing your career. So you ended up being a nurse, and then what was your life like at that point, a decade in?
So I was working like at the WOMAC, the Army Medical Hospital there.
Okay.
I would do like weekend shifts, which was good. So I had a niece that came and stayed with us during his deployment time to watch the kids for me.
Oh, that's great.
And she just enjoyed getting out of Missouri for a few months at a time. So, I mean, it was just managing the day-to-day, basically, the incidentals that came up. We were able to keep pretty decent contact. Like, I don't remember, like, what it was that we were chatting on, like, what platform, but he was able to call me. I wasn't able to get calls out to him. So that was pretty good. But there was a lot of, like, it did turn into, like, I'm supposed to be home this time. And then it went to, like, I'm not sure. And it just, I don't know. So that's what he was kind of feeding me. I don't know. And that was, I guess, easier for him because he didn't know. And there was no reason for me to sit and worry and expect him, and he's not going to be there.
Right. Did you ever at that point like formulate any community? Because you said at the onset it was kind of like the girls would go home and you were kind of on your own. So a decade in, had you established the community for yourself?
Yeah. So of course my little work family was they were great and supportive. At Bragg, it's a huge military installation.
Right.
So there was a lot of military spouses going through the same types of things. And then working on base was definitely helpful. But then the team wives, once he got to a team, we kind of developed a little pack, and we would get together for, just hanging outs or outings. If somebody needed something, we were kind of there for each other. I'm truly like a little introvert by nature, so like I tend to just stick to myself. I don't really want to ask people for help, but was always available to those that needed it, and it was a nice community too. I enjoyed the team girls and wives and that we got along with. Yeah.
That you got along with.
That we got
I was
along
like,
with. There's always one,
there's
You
always
gotta
some-
lie to
Yeah,
kids.
there's always some drama. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
That'll
you meet a
come with it.
large array of different people with different character, morals, values, and of course, in that type of community, in that type of op tempo, you're going to have some crazies.
Yeah.
And you just have to be very careful and mindful
Yeah.
of
Yes.
that. Because it does spill over into obviously your marriage if you're dealing with a lot of crazy
Yeah.
people all the
Yes.
time and already a crazy job, which we had a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean,
That we had to learn probably the hard way to separate.
well, I think you learn as you go. Like especially when it comes to our careers. Like, not only is like the job itself hard, where you're deploying and gone all the time, and then when you're back, you're training, but then you're also dealing with every emotion, like pain, loss, all these things. But you, like you said, you compartmentalize it and keep going. But we all know, like, when those things happen, especially when we lose teammates that are close, it either brings out the best in people or it brings out the worst in people. And that's when, those little, as great as those like environments are with like the wives are getting together and they're supporting each other, it can also be a downfall as well when you go through traumatic experiences like that, and you can see the individuals that sort of make it about themselves, and then they become like very toxic. So I think you learn as you go, like, okay, cool, like you're not pushing you out completely, but we're aware of like how you are,
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was a student, I used to have the UFC fights at the house, and I had like a little, kind of like a little mock-up like studio that we had up there like for a theater, and all the guys are fine, but then like they're bringing their wives and girlfriends, and I remember a couple of times I was like, bro, some of these girls are about ready to throw down downstairs, and I had to go upstairs, and I'm like, hey man, you got to get your wife or your girlfriend, like they're downstairs like
Ready to
at
go.
it, like ready to go, and I'm like, all right, we got to slow this down. The guys can come, but like it's getting bad.
So back to the change that we were talking about earlier. I really did not notice any change in him after that first deployment, and I think it was just because you said it was such a quick turnaround. You went to the SODIC and the PMT or whatever it was. So there wasn't a lot of like reacclimation for us in the house because he was here, but then he was gone doing training and stuff, and then right back on a deployment. I'm assuming the second deployment, is that when you lost Mitch?
Yeah, Mitch was killed in the second deployment.
That's when I noticed the difference, like the emotional numbing, the distancing, the like kind of being on edge and stuff, like in the community when we would go to do things, just noticing that kind of distancing that you had started to do after the second one. Yeah.
Drinking. Does that pick up at all, or?
Yeah, he's never really been one to like really indulge. Like drink a little bit, yes, here and there, but like you've never really been like a.
No, like I would drink probably more than what I should have, but it was just enough to get through it, but not enough to hinder like a downfall. You know what I mean? Like a
Hinder your performance.
hinder my performance, and or because I was always big on performance. I'm like, I want to make sure I can still do the things that I need to do for the team.
Right.
You know, and like I still got to go to work the next day or whatever. You know, I really didn't overindulge in that. Now there are a lot of times where I drank more than I should have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there for a while, like I would drink daily sometimes, which is not good, you know, but that was part of the culture too. So you kind of hit it between that also.
It's part of the culture, and then it's part of the numbing process as well. Even if you just do like a little bit a day, because that's what I would do too. And it's just another way to medicate and be like, you know, suppress all those emotions that should be coming out, but you're like, I don't have time.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I don't want to.
Yeah, like bourbon, whiskey, and an Ambien to go to bed every night. You know, like that's not healthy.
No.
You know,
That was the
like,
cocktail back
Yeah,
then.
that was the
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but I've never really like I never let alcohol or anything control my behaviors. I don't feel kind of like you said. I never like overindulged.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, just use it kind of for just enough to numb.
Yeah.
Just enough to self-medicate, I guess, pretty much.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Definitely a big culture thing in our,
Yeah, the SEAL
which
community. Yeah.
that's when we would see, you know, both the people definitely overindulging, and I think after some years we were like, this is, you know, and I think you do kind of both probably end up in whatever way. Like when you see him emotionally pulling away, obviously it wasn't necessarily alcohol related, but how did that affect you, and how did you deal with that?
Gosh, I mean, I really just kind of like just pressed on. I mean, he felt a little distant, but like I said, still there. There was nothing really like so significant that was happening that it was like affecting our daily life. I mean, we were still, you know, getting the kids up, taking them to school. You know, we were going to church a little bit here and there. I was still working. So, I mean, there wasn't a lot of like major impact to the family life and what he was doing. You know, maybe it was happening more so in the team room, and, you know, he's just making his way back at the end of the day. But I don't know. I didn't really notice like a huge difference in like a shift in you until like you actually became a team sergeant, when you took over a team. That's when I felt like, okay, like he has completely detached. Like it is all just, we're very much mission oriented. It's about the guys. It's about, the team and making sure everybody else is good there. And so even though you were home, I still felt like I was managing a lot, just of the family on my own.
Yeah.
Because he was so invested in taking care of the team.
Right. Yeah, we definitely probably experienced the exact same thing.
Yep. Yeah. I think especially when you move up and you start taking leadership positions, it's the way that culture is. You would think, I think in most like jobs, when you move up and to higher positions, it becomes a little bit more like, okay, I'm getting paid a little bit more, and the responsibilities aren't as great. In the military, it's opposite. It's like you move up more, and that's the more pressure's put on you. Like now you're in charge of 18 individuals' lives that you're taking into combat. So you haven't really there really is no choice but to like, dude, this has to be my main priority if I'm going to bring all these guys home and myself home. There can be nothing else that gets like, I can't handle anything else. Like, and that's, I think, where I would have issues, and I know she, like, when normal everyday life stuff would come up during those times, or like stuff that she was dealing with as a family, it was like, dude, I don't have the bandwidth like for that. And it's not like I tried to ignore it, but it would aggravate me or like annoy me, because I'm like, this isn't as important as this, right? Which is not right, but that's just the mindset that you're in.
Yeah, you're not prioritizing the same thing. So like,
No.
and if you're not communicating effectively, like for us, we weren't really communicating effectively. I'm like, I don't care if the grass is too high. That's not my priority right now. Like, I got to do X, Y, and Z. Like, these are the things I need to like execute. Like, you know what I mean? So like things that like could have been helped around the house, like I ain't got time for it. And when we go back to like the military, the leadership stuff is when you're a team guy, you're just a team guy. Right? You need to be there for your guys, but you're not responsible for anybody else but yourself. You're not making decisions that are going to cost somebody else. If you're a pipe hitter and you're a savage and you're getting after it, that's all you need to do. So you can very easily detach yourself and come home and worry about everything else. But when you can make dumb decisions in combat, I've done some dumb things and be like, okay, it's fine because you're only responsible really for yourself. But in a leadership position, that's not the case. Like you have to. If you're not making tactically sound decisions, your guys are going to pay for it, right? If you are not, giving these guys buy-in and you're working together, like your guys are going to pay for it. It's not about you anymore. It's about them,
Yeah.
And like we used to have team parties, and we'd come team parties, and as a team sergeant, I'd have this conversation. We'd have a barbecue, and if anybody's going to plaque or whatever, I'd say straight to everybody there, including their wives, this team comes before everybody. Everybody here located. When we deploy, the team comes before you, your kids, everybody else. And I would say it straight up. I'd be like, it sounds cruel. It sounds whatever. But my point is to bring everybody home. And if we don't put each other first, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work, And I got to put them before everybody else. So that's the way I viewed it. And
Well, that's the reality of the situation.
it is, yeah.
Yeah. Because I've seen it where I have had leaders where they are good family men and they put the family first, and you're maybe on the same level, and so they take away time from the team. Well, guess what? That trickles down to the rest of the team, and then it sort of becomes a little bit dysfunctional because guys are like, well, this guy doesn't have us first, and we're the ones going to combat, and so it can backfire in that way too. And I remember thinking with those guys, I'm like, dude, they're good. Like, I wish I had some of those attributes, like they're putting their family first, but at the same time, it's like that's not the way this goes, and it shows when you go down range too.
Yeah, it's very it's one of those things. I look at it, you're prioritizing someone else for the right reasons.
Yeah,
Do you understand?
But you're justifying.
You're
it.
justifying it because this is a short period of time. This isn't your life. This is however many months or years it needs to be to make sure that everybody comes home to their family so they can prioritize their family first. But if you don't prioritize during that time frame, during that season of your life, then it could be the cause and effect of them not coming home.
Yeah.
So we had a guy, he actually was a team sergeant on one of our trips, and he had pictures of his wife and kids on the GMV, like on the front of the GMV. And it crushed him. He couldn't he was not. After a while, he wasn't even doing combat operations anymore because he was so focused on his wife and kids. I mean, think about you getting a bad troops in contact, somebody gets killed, and you come in and the first thing you see is your wife and kids. Like, that's not
that's
healthy, you know? So, like, you have to, you know, turn that off. Like, I had pictures of Chas and the kids, like, back in the bunk. Like, I was able to do that, no problem, you know? Like, you go back to your hooch or whatever. But, like, out there where you're seeing them while you're doing combat operations, I'm like, no, you can't do that. And if you can and you can still be effective, then go right ahead. Most people, I don't see anybody that can.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, yeah, it's you have to be mission focused. That's it. And I think, like, the hardest part for each deployment was the day leaving, right? So you're saying goodbye to them, getting on the plane, because I knew from that moment, actually the night before is the hardest, because I would go around to each of the kids' rooms and, like, look at them while they're sleeping, because, you know, you're like, this could be the last time I see them. Like, I could go die on this deployment. So you're taking that in, but then once you get on that plane, at least for me, as soon as I hugged them and got on that plane, it was like I flipped a switch, and I'm like, this is all I'm thinking about now, you know. Not to say I wasn't thinking about them, because, you know, when you get over there, you get in your room, you have some alone time, I'll look at pictures and communicate, but it even got to a point, I remember when, you know, our first deployment, that we were married, we, I think, talked all the time, right? You know, because we had Skype and whatever, and even that, I think we both came.
We both decided it wasn't. We were not that couple.
No, and it's
I didn't need to talk to him every day. He didn't need to talk to me every day. It made it way worse.
It made it worse. Yeah. So then, I mean, and like as we went, we matured in how we handled things on deployments.
And I would say it's funny because you were, like, obviously, like, very verbal about, like, this is the thing, this is the mission, this is the priority. I don't think that Eddie ever expressed that, but I definitely, through the learning process, I fully understood that and was like, this job comes first. He has prioritized, even though he probably wouldn't have. I don't know if you would have said that verbally ever.
No, I wouldn't have.
But it was crystal clear to me that he is one-track mind, completely focused on this. And I think he was doing a good job of, like, the balance of the life and the family. But again, I think it takes a toll. I don't think that you can necessarily shut that off like that and expect that you're going to just be able to reintegrate. And we did learn through the years to take time for reintegration. So if he was gone for 6 months, I was like, basically he's getting, like, 6 months to decompress, kind of. Not a full pass on everything, of course, but it was just like, I think we learned the ropes during the course of the multiple deployments.
Yeah, for sure.
So how did you guys develop, like, strategies where he was, to your point, getting higher up, responsibilities increasing, his commitment was doubling, tripling, and so was there anything that you can identify, like, how you guys continue to navigate through that?
Hey, what's up, guys? So when I'm not doing the podcast, I'm doing a lot of traveling. I put on training all over the country for LE and civilians. I also travel a lot for my nonprofit, the Pipe Hitter Foundation. And as you guys know, travel, going back and forth, can wear you down. But this past year, I have found the antidote. So let me put you on to Aquavita, Destin's premier IV therapy and oxygen bar. This place is owned and operated by a board-certified ER physician with over 23 years of experience, so you know your health is in good hands. Every IV drip is mixed to Board of Pharmacy standards and backed by CDC-level infection control. Whether you're dealing with a fatigue, a hangover, jet lag, stress, immunity issues, or even PMS, they've got custom vitamin drips and boosters tailored just for that. When you go inside, the place is pretty awesome. It puts you at ease right when you go in there. They have comfy lounge chairs, which are perfect for singles or couples, full group sessions. And you can even book the whole space for bachelor or bachelorette parties, race day recovery, or wellness events. While you're in there, they go the extra mile too. They'll give you blankets, sleep masks, earplugs, aromatherapy oxygen, all complimentary. And the best part, every visit includes direct care from the physician and experienced RNs, all focused on fast, safe, and affordable wellness. So if you're in the Destin area, hit up Aquavita. Your body will definitely thank you.
I mean, I don't recall us ever really, like, sitting down, and we were not communicating. We were both just kind of on autopilot, I feel, right?
I feel like for us two, like, we had enough. like I compartmentalize very well, but she does also. So she does very well herself, right? So I think it was just we knew how to deal with like trauma. I think from a young age, and you just like you didn't quit. It was just like we just keep on going, even if it was there's issues. I think I was deploying so much. It was once it got to even like a head or something, I was just gone again.
Yeah.
Right.
We definitely had that too.
Yes.
And then you're like, then it goes, oh, okay, you come back and you're like, all right, here it is, about ready to break. Oh, we're going to deploy again. Then you had the honeymoon phase again. And then however long, you know what I mean? It was just over and over and over again to a point to where, you know, I don't think that we dealt with a lot of this stuff until within this last couple of years, I think, really truthfully, is whenever everything, you know, now there's no more deployments, and now you're transitioning out of the military, and now you're like, okay,
and that's
now how are we going to deal with all
and
this
that's
shit?
where all the problems arise, right?
Yep.
And that's, I mean, that's what, and that's part of the reason we started this series, is because what we saw is obviously through, you know, our different careers, whatever, but it's the same, you know, special operations. The divorce rate, you know, in the SEAL teams is 120%. I'm sure it's the same because you're counting second, third marriages. But what we ended up seeing is like you'd see these marriages make it all the way through, like 20 years, and they, you know, they struggled through it and made it, and you're like, and it's supposed to be like a high five, like, dude, you guys made it, but then they fall apart as soon as they get out of the military because there's these false expectations on both sides. I think that, hey, I think the spouse is like, okay, he's out. This is the moment I've been waiting for. We're about to be a normal family again, and like this is everything that I pictured. And then for us, it's like, dude, I don't know what I just lost my identity. I have to like, you know, try and find a new purpose and still support and be the protector and do all these things. And I just feel like those two things collide. And it's because nobody talks about how hard the struggle is when you do get out. I think everyone sort of goes on their own way, and nobody wants to talk about it. And that's how and you end up seeing these couples that you would never thought get divorced. And they're like, dude, you guys are separating? Like, what's going on? It's because they're probably not communicating with each other properly, but then they're not asking for help either, or they're not talking to other people that have been through it. Like, yeah, this is normal. Like, this is the real selection process right here, is you've just put in all your time. Now the real selection process starts to reintegrate into civilian society.
Yeah, that's a huge, like for us, I think everybody's the same thing, kind of what you said. It's like you get out and then it's a whole different new identity, a new focus. And I'll say, at least for me personally, for being, when I go for something, I go all in, which can be almost impulsive probably, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like you're getting out of the military and you're like, okay, what's this? I'm going to go all in on that. And I'm like, nah, I don't like that. Then I'm like, oh, I'm going to go all in on that. Nah, I decided I don't like that. I either like it or I don't. Like I don't like in between. Either I'm going to go all in on something. I may be there for a while and be like, nope, this ain't for me. And then try something else, you know? So she had to deal with that. She's like, what are you doing, Terry? Like, you're all over the place, you know? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm going to go all in on it until I realize, nope, this ain't for me. And then come out, you know?
Well, yeah, it's a very, it's a confusing and frustrating time because you're trying to find like another avenue, and you're trying to find like the same feeling you had when you were in. It's like, do I want that same spark? I want that same drive. And I think for guys like, and I'm not an expert on any of it, but what I tell guys, I'm like, you're not gonna find that again. Like it's not, if you keep chasing that like magic, you know, thing that you had, you're gonna be left in disappointment each and every time, because I don't think there's, and there could be, I guess, but I mean, I just tell them to manage their expectations and like, dude, and I speak to myself as well, because I go through it, is like, you have to find something that's going to give you purpose, but don't set it up on this like pedestal, like it's going to be just like when I was in, because it's like that's not going to happen again, especially during the time that we were in. I think we were, you know, people look at war as, you know, this gross, you know, like thing, which it is, but it's also it was a privilege to be able to serve during that time, because I'm like, dude, I wouldn't give it back for anything. I got to like play out exactly what I wanted to do. You know, I acted, you know, like a soldier when I was a child, like played guns and all that, and I got to do that as an adult. Like she coined it like Peter Pan syndrome. It's like we don't actually have to grow up. It's like now we're doing a job that we all played when we were little, except we're doing it for real. And then I think when you get out after doing it for 20 years, it's like, okay, you're not going to get that to that pinnacle again. But there's nothing wrong with like you said, okay, I'm trying all these different avenues. But I get that can be like confusing or frustrating to see your spouse like, okay, what are we doing here? What are you going to commit to?
It's expensive.
Yeah. So
Yeah, definitely. I think the identity piece of you guys had a very similar timeline too, as young adults, like 19 years old, going in, doing an entire career for 20 years. You're radically specialized in an area that transition too, I feel like, to redefine yourself as a human being in your, were you your late 30s?
whenever
Or 40?
I was 40. So I did 24 years, 44 when I got out.
24 years. So yeah, you're
Yeah,
4.
24 years. 44.
I mean, I know for him personally, like, again, you managed everything at the home, all of the things, same as me, even basic stuff. He was like, I can't do anything. Like, he realized, like, I don't know how to file taxes. I don't know how to do anything, and he just was like, that was hard for him too. Did you even encounter just even things like that it was like, wow, I was so all in? Because, and I hear you both, like, you were all in on the job, the mission, the thing, and all of it. But every good, positive thing has a negative. And I felt for him too, he was kind of like shell-shocked in that way of like, I don't know how to like cut the grass, do this, do these little things. And that's a bad example, but you know what I'm
Still figuring
saying.
that out.
But it's like, it's like, I never had to do this. Like, we lived in military housing, so they came over, they fixed stuff. He's like, it's not something that you, I guess, have a variety of the nuances of just home life in general that you were on the outside of. How did you start to reconcile, like, wow, this is my life now. Now I do have to, I'm at home. And
Yeah.
he's had to do that too with me, the kids, and all of it. And it was like, we never had time together except during COVID.
Yeah.
Like, we really had the most quality time of all of us under one roof during COVID. And
Yeah.
so I would say it's just so interesting to me to hear you guys have a very similar trajectory as us. What were some of those things that you guys encountered that you were like, oh my gosh, we really did go all in so hard that, like, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think exactly just like she put it, just the regular things of like taking care of the household things. Like, he's not a fixer, he's not a handyman, so like not doing it or just like avoiding it, those kind of things would come like, oh, I'm just gonna pretend that's not happening, and then eventually somebody somewhere will fix it. Or like the magic coffee table, those kind of things come to mind.
Yeah.
Was this the magic coffee
Magic
table?
coffee. You haven't seen that skit with the magic coffee table?
Oh yes, he's like, somebody just comes. and
Somebody
does
just
it.
came in.
Yeah.
He's like,
He's shown me that too.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
look at this. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah. So those but I think we're finally coming around on those kind of things. And it's taken the last, because when you became, were you CSM?
no, Sergeant Major.
Sergeant Major,
Yeah.
doing a battalion.
Company.
A company, okay.
Yep.
When you were doing that, you were, of course, still managing a lot of people, so there was a lot of that still all in, but you were you were home, so you were able to like acclimate a little bit better, and things were starting to settle down, and I think you were coming more into like just routine things, getting the girls to their dance, and and getting Cook ready for his prom, and little father-daughter dances and things like that. You were starting to come around and be able to do. So we've had a good last 4 years or so getting ready. Like, I think I'm going to get out of the military in a couple years. So we were thinking about this, and like, I remember during that time as he's throwing it around, like, oh my gosh, like what are we gonna do? Like, I know, like, financially we're gonna be fine. I'm not worried about that, but like, what is he gonna do? Like, knowing I've got this like, strong protector leader.
G.I. Joe at the household.
Right.
Yeah.
but I know he's got to have purpose. He's got to have definition
Right.
and meaning for his life. Like, what is he going to do that's going to fulfill him? And I remember thinking about this and like, oh, just the anxiety of it. You know,
yeah.
like, how is this going to play out? And I feel, you know, where things have led us recently, I think that things are going quite well. I think that there's meaning, there's purpose, there's definition in his life, and things are starting to settle out a little bit.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing, I think, like kind of when you're talking about like the dichotomy of a war. It's like, of course, war is a terrible thing, but there's nothing you can do to replicate the decision-making process that you have to have in there and the attention to detail that you have to perform when you're in combat.
Yeah.
All these small things like matter. Seconds matter. There's nothing else in the world that is going to replicate that. Because if you don't do things in a certain way, in a certain order, in a certain attention to detail, people die.
Yep.
So like
or they get maimed.
Or they get
for
maimed.
life,
So anything you're around here, you see people walking around, and they're like, even somebody's reaction, you know, an ambulance going to a scene, and they're like walking. They're not in shape. They're not hustling. Like nobody cares about their job. It's like, hey, where's the wrenches in whatever aisle when you go to some store? Oh, I don't know. This is your job. Why don't you care? You know what I mean? You're dealing with all that stuff, you know, here with civilians, and it's like, man, it's frustrating because, and there's nothing you can do to replicate that. So now you're trying to look for some fulfillment to like, it's just not there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to think of the term. And it's escaping me, but I know what you're talking about. It's like there's no, like, I don't know, it's not aggression, but it's like, dude, there's a standard to living. Like, and if you have a job, you should be doing it to your utmost ability. You should be, you know, X, Y, and Z, helping people out, like doing whatever you can. And I think, you know, when you get out, you notice those things, and it's frustrating to see. And that, you know, we still deal with that a little bit. But I think the longer you're out, the longer I like, for me at least, I just come to recognize, I'm like, we are different. And because I used to think, I'm like, no, I'm no different than anybody else just because I was a SEAL and just because I was that. But there is a difference. It's like, and that's what you have to realize. And then you also have to sort of take a step back and realize, like, they're not Green Berets. They're not SEALs. They're not held to the same standard as we are. So you have to sort of give them that leeway. And I think, like, what you're doing now, which I see, you know, you're doing like the leadership posts and like, hey, this is what's important in leadership. This is what standards are here for. I mean, that's a route to go, because it's like, I think the civilians don't have that. But if they have somebody like sort of explaining to them, like, hey, this is why you do good at your job. This is why you want to show up to work every day. You know, motivated and wanting to be the best person there. Because I don't think that's taught in a lot of places, and it's not their fault. You know, and that's at the end of the day what you have to realize. It's like, dude, because I used to get frustrated, and I still do at times, and I have to learn to check myself and be like, dude, they didn't have the past 20 years of experience I did, and it's no fault on them, but at the same time, it's probably our responsibility to then at least try and teach some of the attributes that we picked up during our career to them. And if they choose to listen, then great. If not to, then all right.
Did you guys do any programs or out processing that helped either or both of you that would help you to get into your next step in life?
Not really. So I did the STAR program in Virginia. That's for like TBI and PTSD.
Okay.
That really isn't focused on like really transition more than like kind of health based.
Which is also equally important.
Yes.
It is.
Oh,
it
yeah.
is, because you have to have that stuff right too before like anything else. But the thing about it, which really kind of was frustrating, there are like some other programs out there that for veterans or whatever. There's not really a whole lot for spouses.
Right.
And that's like the hardest thing.
That's always a pitfall that we had experienced too, you know, and obviously you guys are even more freshly out than we are. He served 20, so when he got out late 2019, we experienced the same thing. But in the SEAL teams, we had, obviously he was at NICO in Pendleton. That was for kind of similar to what you were saying. But then we had started when he was in the out processing, kind of realizing, I think I'm going to get out. I think I'm going to transition. They had a program called the Honor Foundation. So that was to help people to focus them on, hey, what will you do to utilize these skills to go into your next step? And I will tell you, he was railing up against it. It was not good. He was one day like, okay, and we were also going through a really traumatic situation.
We had a lot going
anyhow.
on at the same
But
time.
he really had a hard time grasping entrepreneurial, like, because I was like, babe, I can't see you working anywhere that you have a boss. Like, it just, I don't think you're a good fit for that. I think you're better to be an entrepreneur. But what I had noticed about him was, it sounds like you thrived in a very structured environment. So like as an entrepreneur, a lot of times we're making our own schedule, we're doing our own things, we're setting up. And so I saw him really have a rocky road of like, well, what do I do? Like, I don't have a schedule. I don't have a structure. How do I do this? And I was like, well, you kind of make your way. And so I saw that 20 years of having boom, 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 the regimen, of his life. And every day he has a very regimented life that he still embodies that. He likes that. That makes him thrive. Did you experience anything like that?
So, yes. And the reason why, I think for me personally, I think a lot of people is when you're on the teams or you're doing something, there's usually some fulfillment. There's a bigger purpose there for staying very structured or getting things done. I hate to say that. I mean, I'm going to say it is when you're a civilian, most people's purpose is how much money they can make. To me, that does not give me the drive. Like if I'm like, oh, great, I made more money. You know what I mean? I'm like, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not saying money's bad. I'm not saying that like that don't want to make money and like have where I can help my kids and my grandkids.
But money's not your driving force.
But it's not my driving force. Like it doesn't drive like my fulfillment. Like I couldn't do something that I didn't enjoy doing and look at how much money I'm making. I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Right.
Like it would eat me alive. I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I'd rather do something that fulfills me and make less money than do. So then now in the entrepreneur route, that's what you're trying to figure out. You're like, okay, I could work harder, but what am I filling? I'm filling the bank account, but I'm not really filling what my fulfillment is. So it makes it difficult to stay on task with like making your own schedule and okay, I need to do this and I need to do that. And it's like, and some of the things I'll tell you, like being an entrepreneur, it's outside of the comfort zone of being on a team.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have to sell yourself. Now you got to do sales. Now you got to, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to turn into the person I don't like. You know what I mean? And you're like, so now you're fighting against this. Like, how do I do this, but still stay true to who I am? Yeah. Which is difficult.
In today's society,
it is so hard. So hard. And you're like, oh man.
Yeah.
But you do thrive under structure, and I do feel like you perform the best whenever you continue to do your daily routines. Like, your wake-ups at 5:30, you're walking, you get to the gym early. If you keep that type of structure, you tend to have more productive days, weeks, months, and so on.
I'm the exact same way, and she knows it. Like I have the same routine in the morning. I have to work out. I have to like do my normal. I have to have a routine.
Yes.
Which you call it regimented or whatever. But it's like if I can do that in the morning, then the rest of the day, okay, whatever I can do whatever and pick and choose of how I want to spend the rest of my day and not get frustrated. But if I don't have that routine, I'm a mess. Like then my brain is all over the place and it's saying I can go to negative town real quick. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that I know the type of day when I get home from work if he made the bed. After I got out of it, if he made the bed, he's gonna have had a productive day. I know that because you make your bed first thing in the morning, you tend to have a more productive day. He usually waits. I get up later, so if the bed is made when I get home, I know he's got some shit done.
That's a good tell. Yeah. You're like, before we do anything, I'm gonna do is check the bed. See how this combo is gonna go. That's so funny.
Did you find like you went to that STAR program? Obviously, did you find like some of the injuries, like like the TBIs and all that come into play too when you got out, like when trying to like figure out what you're going to do?
So the biggest thing, I had a couple different. The biggest things I think was hit back for me is I had really bad, radiculopathy. So my arms would go numb, and like there's times where they go numb for like 10 months. Like how you just sleep on it. So when I got back into the gym and was trying to get back in shape again, like that was very rough because I had to go very, very lightweight, not because I couldn't lift it, because I was having a lot of pain with the nerve damage. So what I would do is I would just adjust my workout routine to where I could still do it. I'd still build muscle, but it just was lighter weight.
Yeah.
You know? So I had to work around it. So that was one of the big ones. The TBI, I think truthfully for me, it's the loss of words. Like I was an instructor, right? And and you speak, you have to learn how to like pause and not use filler words. And, like with the TBI, like it feels like they come back. And sometimes I'm sitting there like, lost for words, a lot more filler words than what used to be. So those are the kind of things I think the TBI, you have to deal with. The PTSD, I think that's just dealing with the anger, the frustration, and kind of what we talked about. It's like not everybody's on the same. I can't expect the same level of professionalism, respect, and that from everybody that I would from the guys on the teams. You know what I mean? Which is difficult, at times. So, that is dealing with that kind of stuff.
And that's not. I don't really think that's PTSD. That's just. Like we're good friends with Dr. Chris Free, and he's been on here. And have you guys seen the operator syndrome?
Yeah, we've seen that.
Okay, so he's made that, and it's I think there's so many factors, and you can't just put PTSD on it, right? It's like, dude, there's all sorts of little factors that come into play when you get out, and like I know for me, like the TBI was messing with me as far as like my frustration levels, or like she talked about when I was like, I don't know how to do these taxes, or I want to learn how to do it, or like I would have that thought like I want to know how to do it, but then that would be it. Like I would block off. I'm like, dude, like I can't do this, and it would spiral from there, right? Because then I'm like shamed that I can't even do normal things, that normal men are supposed to do, or like be like the handyman. I'm not a handyman either. So then when you're like looking at things like I don't even know how to do this, and like you get that I'm less of a man than I think I am because I don't know how to do these things, and then I think the TBI and all that comes into play with it, just sort of spirals, and that's what I had to work through a lot is like trying to like clear my head of all that and stop doing like the negative self-talk, but that it took a long time to get to that point.
I think also it's so hard that you guys are like naturally just strivers, and I think you use a lot of, like, to use the team phrase, hate and discontent to motivate a lot. Is that something that you guys have found that, like, I would find him, like, because he was always in that mode, right? And the SEAL team's like, okay, we got to do this, we got to accomplish this, and it was like on the outside, it's like, okay, we're like living a beautiful life, children are healthy, what's wrong? And it was like I could still sense that the undercurrent of that same feeling that I think he had during the op tempos and the deployments and the workups. That was like, is that hard for you to find, like, even joy in these simple moments where it's like, why are you discontent right now?
So my motto when I was on the teams all the way to like the last couple of years used to be testosterone and hate. They're like, how you doing on testosterone and hate? They get me through anything. So it's almost like an identity that you kind of like instill, because whether it's not good, it was effective, or it was what I knew to be effective.
Sure.
So there's like a line there, like how, because now to me personally, I don't want to be that person anymore, because that person is angry, frustrated, upset. Like, I don't want to live my life like that, So it was hard, because now you're at a line to where it's like, that's been so much part of my life that now that I'm trying to follow a different path, it's like sometimes you want to go back to it. I'm like, man, it was effective, but I shouldn't do that. You know what I mean?
And it's comfortable.
It's comfortable.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable. It was effective when it needed to be, but then you're like, I just don't want to be angry at everything, upset.
Well, for me, I always had to find an enemy. Like, okay, that's the target. Like, we're going after that. Yeah. And I would build everything I was doing around that was to, okay, we're destroying this, whatever. And because that's a purpose. And then when I got out, it's like, I found myself, like, we would do things together. And then she's like, this isn't like the enemy, or like, this isn't, you're constantly looking for something to fight. We're not fighting here. We're trying to accomplish something. But in my mind, I'm like, that's the only effective way that I know how to, like, wrap my head. I'm like, no, this needs to go down, and this is the way I'm used to doing things. But and she would, she's like, you need to like back off, and so you had to sort of deconstruct yourself in the way that you think about things. And I catch myself every once in a while, like I'm getting better at it, and then it's really just becoming more self-aware of like, okay, where are these thoughts I'm having coming from? Because I'll still get them, and then I have to sort of pause and be like, okay, this is not really what's going on right now. I'm feeling this way because of X, Y, and Z. And
and a lot of that there's too is because that's kind of how you brought up. There's nothing wrong with it, but you're on the teams and guys have thick skin. I was an instructor, right, in leadership positions as an 18 Bravo. The first things you start pointing out is things that we do wrong. It's not to like pick on someone. It's not to be like mean, but it's like
to get better.
It's to get better because those things that we're doing wrong cost people their lives. So if we're doing a training and then you mess up, I'm going to tell you, hey, Mike, get over here. You did X, Y, and Z. This is wrong, whatever. Like, so you're hitting those things first to make sure you're not doing them again, right? And I'd be very straightforward. Hey, listen, I'm just the type of guy we want to fix things first. Doesn't mean the rest of the stuff was great, So like you use that to like, I can't even go get eggs and be like, oh, I guess you don't know how to make over easy eggs because. You know what I mean? But like if you have that mentality on that, it can mess a lot of things up, because you're expecting a certain level of performance, and you're like, and if you're always at that mindset of attacking something, it's
not good.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Yeah.
What have you seen, Chastity, as you've been like walking alongside of Terry, and like I said, like how do you feel like you guys can find joy and redirect, because you were on mission together for so long?
Yeah, I find a lot of times just saying, do we really have to go at this so hard? Like I'll ask him, like, what is the purpose in this? What is the purpose in that? And when you're coming from a lot of trauma, whether it's military or just life-related trauma, we have those like negative self-talks and those periods to where you want to attack something, you want to be mad at something because that's a feeling. Like you don't want, you're emotionally blunted to everything else because it's easier just to turn it off. So I feel like we did do a round of counseling a couple years ago, and I really feel like it was effective to help us learn to communicate better together. And that's the first time we'd ever done counseling. Were you still in? You were still in at that point.
Yeah, I was
getting ready to get out. Yes,
I was still in, but they were like, I was in my like Red Empire time. They were like leaving me alone.
Yeah.
So.
And what year was this?
This was in 2003. 2003,
23.
Was it 23?
23, yeah.
23. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
How long was that counseling? Like just for?
We probably did it 9 months-ish.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's great though.
Yeah, that's
long time.
Initially, like we were going like every week, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are a mess,"
So the one counselor fired us.
Yeah, she fired us. We did get fired, but we got set up with the second one, who was fantastic, and like even my patients moving forward, I'm like, go to this one. She helped me, But she was fantastic. But she was seeing us initially for like every week, and then she would move us to like every 2 weeks, and then like month 3 in, she was like, look at you guys, like you're sitting facing each other, you're touching, look at you doing good again, so we worked through a lot of things, and a lot of it was just communication, because there was nothing significant going on. It was just a lot of both of us emotionally shutting down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you need that
then,
third party sometimes to like, okay, and you guys are both telling this third party exactly what you're feeling instead of telling it to each other. So it opens up that communication. But then, it also depends, like you said, on the right counselor, the right person you have. Because I think a lot of people like shit on therapy or like, oh, I don't want to do that. And it's like, dude, it's effective, or like having a counselor is effective if you have the right one.
Yeah.
So I personally, I shit on therapy all the time, but I was at a point to where I was willing to try anything. I was like, this is going to be, you know what I mean? And I think it's what you kind of put into it too, right?
Yeah.
You have to put something into it, and I think it's what you talk about also. If you go to a therapist and you only talk about how bad things are, you're going to come out feeling bad. Like, don't get me wrong, like maybe you need to get through some stuff, but you also got to talk about you know what I mean? There's things you can get out of there
Right.
too. So I think,
Yeah.
and I think it just depends on where you're at in life, the season or whatever. But I think we went longer than because I remember we were talking about it and we're like, all right, I think we're good. I think we're like 3 or 4 months in. And we're like, I think we're good. And we're like, nah, let's continue going. So we went way longer than I think we could have just for like the maintenance period.
Sure.
We didn't want to like do all this work and then
And then just let it fall off.
and then let it fall off. So like we did it.
I think
after
it
that,
takes a
so-
long time too to like develop new habits. And if you guys had been like
Yeah.
both, obviously maybe more naturally compartmentalizing. Eddie did not have that convenience with me because I'm
Yeah.
very verbal and I love
yes.
to
Oh, yeah.
talk about everything.
Yeah.
So we definitely had to learn to go halfway where I was like, is not able to process quickly, so he has to take time. He's like an internal processor and I'm a verbal processor, so we had to learn the opposite, which was like he does not have the ability to communicate right off the bat. He sometimes has to take time and then we can talk later, and I had to like rein it in, pull it back. So that was something that it's kind of interesting that you both had the same, because then you both were like, okay, we're going in our lane, going in our lane.
Yeah.
And then I think it takes a long time to really look, if you're not ready to look at the problems either, because again, we a lot of times talk about, you put all this stuff in the caboose and it's like, you're just going. And then like you get out and you both, again, we've seen this ourselves, other people, the false expectation, like, oh, well, this is going to be the answer to get, we're going to get out, everything's going to fall into place. So it's like, it's great that you guys took that time and just realized like, we want to not only do this, but execute it, do it longer than we need to make sure we don't fall back into those habits, because that's so easy to do.
Yeah, and it's having, at the end of the day, it's having a no quit attitude. It's like,
That-
we're not going to stay in this position. Like,
Right.
do we want to have a better life, a better marriage? Yes, then we're going to put in the work and make ourselves uncomfortable by going to a therapist or going to a counselor, because it is uncomfortable. It's like, dude, when we started, I was like, no, like, I'm not telling this dude anything. Like, I don't want to like open up to anybody. But then as you progressively go along, you're like, okay, it does feel good to get a little bit of this stuff out. But that takes that willingness and that leap to do it, which I think guys in our profession are sort of like, that's not
They
gonna
don't.
work for
But
me.
so there's another thing too. If they can draw into, for me personally, I looked at it because whenever our home life was falling apart, right, and we were having a very difficult time, I was like, how am I a success if I went through 20 some plus years, 24 years of service, and now I lose all of this because we're not together anymore and my family's a mess.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I was willing to put the same amount of effort and resources into fixing our relationship and our marriage that I was to putting into that.
Yeah.
And if that made me feel uncomfortable, then so be it. Because I'm going to go all in. And I was just like, and that's whenever I was like, that's when we started going to therapy. Like I got back in the gym. Well, actually we got back in the gym way before then. And then like started going to church, small group, like all that stuff. I was like, what do I need to do to be the best? What do I need to do to fix myself, to help fix us, to fix our marriage?
Yeah.
Like that's it.
And that's the attitude you have to have.
You have to have it. And guys that from our profession, they can do it because if they've done it on the teams, they can do it at home. But it's the same mindset. It's just applying it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
It's
is.
like a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, but you have to be on that same path together, I feel like. And that's what we've experienced with some of our friends. We've told them, like, it's going to be a challenge to transition for both of you for different reasons, and some of them are going to be So how do you guys feel like as of now, you got out, was it 2023 was when you were officially out, or 2024?
2024?
24.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was actually out of the military April of 2024, and we did our retirement in June. Like did a retirement ceremony in June of 24.
Okay. Wow, and that was 24 years of service.
Yeah, 24 years. Yep.
Gosh, that's
Yeah, long
awesome.
time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a wild ride for
Oh,
the
yeah.
entire GWAT plus.
Yeah. Actually, that was the entire G1.
Yes.
I was there right before, all the way till it
Yep.
ends.
Yep. That's the same with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got out in 2019, and that's what we look back and we're like, they're going to write books about that time, but we're still too close to it. But I'm like, there's never been another, like, I don't feel like
a war that long.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I did an interview with right when I got out. I think it was the Apple documentary guy, but they did. He was like, "Do you know how many the most deployments for Vietnam like somebody did?" And I was like, "No, it had to be." In my mind, I'm like, "It had to be 20." And he's like, 5.
Yeah.
5 combat deployments was the most deployments anybody ever did during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And then he's like, go to now, and it's like guys have 15, 20, it's up there. So I think, like the repercussions of that whole thing, we haven't even like seen yet.
So at one point, as he was getting close to getting out, we looked at like how much time we've been married. We got married in 2000. So we've been married for 25 years now, but like we truly have only spent right around 10 or 11 years together because of all of the deployments, the TDYs and the trainings and all the stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's profound.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean,
Well, and that's why they call it a sacrifice, because like he was gone a lot.
Yeah.
He missed a lot. And that's what we look at now. He's like, wow. And our kids we have 2 adulting kids and a 16-year-old. And it's like, he's like, oh. I'm like, yeah, those were all the years that you were gone.
Yes.
That they were growing, And it is hard. I feel like you do, I think, because they're so focused on the mission. And like you said, I mean, you both readily said, like, that was first. And that's something I think that we both grapple with. Like, they were little, now they're not, And I think he does have times where it's like, dang, dude, that's kind of crazy.
well, the struggle is like you think you can make up for that time. You're like, okay, what can I do? And it's like you can't make up for that time.
Right.
That time is gone. But what you can do is exactly what you two are doing. Is like, okay, how can I be a better husband,
Right
father,
now.
wife, mother going forward, so that we don't have to like make up for that time, but we can definitely change the time going forward from here. And being the best version that we can be for our kids, and that way it's like it's not a loss.
I do think it's interesting though, like again, what we're talking about. So like like you guys were kids when you joined. You were 19. Yeah. You were kids that went to war, and then you had kids, and then I mean it's crazy. Like you're saying, you're 25 years into a marriage, and it's like, again, I don't think we've ever had a time where there's been soldiers that have been deployed for the entirety of like you're growing into like an adult and into your 40s. Like that's wild. It's just, I mean, I'm just thinking about that. It's just like wild to think about that.
So I got to my unit September 11th of 2000, 1 year before the towers hit. And then I went into the Group CSM's office the day after they pulled out of Afghanistan. I was like, I'm done. Because I was like, there's nothing left here for me. If we probably still been in war, I probably would still be in right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I probably would have still,
Yeah.
but truthfully, that was like a blessing to me. I was so upset with the withdrawal. I was furious about it. And then when it happened, I was like, I'm done. There's nothing left for me. I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I was heading to contract right when I got out, and I'm so glad that I didn't. I'm so glad that didn't work out, and I'm like, I did my time. I'm proud of it, and I don't have anything else to prove to anybody.
Yeah.
You know.
You gotta be careful, man, because you can just chase that like forever, your whole life.
Well, we know guys like that.
Yep.
I know guys that are still in Ground Branch, and they're 50-something years old, and they have, divorced, have like all these debts and probably alcohol problem and pill problem, and it's like, they're still doing, like, in their minds are like, I'm still going after it, but it's like, dude, when that ends, there's nothing left for you, and you're gonna have to face that at some point.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So so for like the listeners, obviously, because we do have, we'll have a lot of couples that are either about to retire, that are about to go through this, or that are going through it right now that might be struggling. Like, what's one piece of advice you would give couples that are about to retire or going through it right now, that you would think help them move forward?
So, you kind of mentioned something like you both got to be online. I think that's 100% the case, but sometimes the other person's not going to come online the same time you do.
That's very true.
Right? So one of you has to work towards going the right direction and give the other person grace on when they're ready to jump on board. Right? So I will say for me personally, a lot of things in our relationship that I thought, I could be like very easily like, oh, that's your fault, it's Chas's fault. Once I started fixing myself, those problems started going away. Right? So like you have to work on yourself before you can really start like blaming the other person. Right? Yep. If you do that and just work on yourself and then try to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be and do it in an unselfish way, I would say that's where you start. It may take your spouse months, it's not. It may take a while.
Thankfully, he did that first, so I got a lot of grace.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you have to go.
What do you mean? What did that look like for you guys?
So for me, for ours was it was very difficult for us because the transition came right after our son got in a motorcycle accident, right? So we're dealing with coming out of the military, we're dealing with grief, we're dealing with all these other problems that we never really dealt with before. And, I would say we were both hurting, and then we just didn't know how to deal with it, So I got to a point to where I knew that we were on the brink of like a disaster. And I was like, I started just going to the gym because I was like way overweight. I was like the worst shape I'd ever been in my life. I was probably 40 plus pounds of overweight than what I am now. Like not good weight, double chin. And I'm just like I can't do this anymore, And so I went back to what I knew, and then I just started like trying to get my body right again, And then did that, and then started going to counseling myself, and then I started talking to her. I'm like, hey, listen, Chas, why don't you start going to counseling yourself also, and then we need to start going to marriage counseling, and it took a little while, and then
you and Cook started going to church regularly.
Yep, and then so we started going. I remember like originally she's like, I don't want to go to the gym. I was like, well, start coming to the gym with me. She's like, I don't want to go to the gym. And eventually she started going to the gym with me, and then she's like, I want to go to the gym, but I'm not going to eat healthy. I said, okay, no problem. So I just
a woman of principle. No, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. So I just stayed with it, and then she's like, all right, hey, give me a meal plan. I want to start eating healthy again, right? So like, then I'm like, hey, let's start going to counseling. She was kind of like not really wanting to do that. Individually and together. Then eventually she came on board, started doing that, and then me and Caden is actually the first one started going to church. Me and my son. So we started going to church, and she's like, I'm not going to church, and I said, okay, no problem. So me and Caden started going, and we went to almost every church in Niceville, and then I got with my oldest daughter Courtney, and I'm like, hey Courtney, you want to start coming to church with us? So then she started coming to church with us, and then finally Chas is like, well, I guess I'm not going to stay home by myself. So she started coming to church with us, right? So we had everybody in the family going, and then we went to quite a few different ones, and then we settled on Destiny. And then so we started to settle on that church. Everybody liked the church, and then so we started doing that, and then we went to the kids. Actually, Caden and Courtney were going to small group, and I was like, "What is small group?" Because they're like a kids small group, And then I started going to like the men's small group from there. So, but it was been a long road, But like I think that's why I said like somebody's got to like, all right, we're you know what I mean? Like go on the right path, and then start moving forward.
Yeah.
Because if not,
Which is phenomenal because there's a lot of people that go down and burn down the ship together that we've,
Yeah.
seen.
well, because it's very easy to see the other person's fault in the relationship, but it's very difficult to look at your own. And I'll tell you, this is one thing that I used to think. I used to think I used to think, well, I thought my wife's supposed to give me peace, right? I'm like, so like, why do you poke the bear if you don't want the bear to respond like a bear, right? That's what I always like kind of go back to, And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense if you kind of really think about it, If you're supposed to be the logical male, if you're supposed to be the logical person, then why are you acting emotionally? You know what I mean? I'm like, if she's in an emotional state because she's acting emotionally, you can't fight emotion with emotion. You know what I mean? You got to fight. If one of y'all's in an emotional state, you have to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's vice versa.
It's
too.
vice versa too. Yeah. Right. So like, you can't fight it that way. So once I kind of started looking at that, then I started kind of retracing. It's fixing habits, kind of what you talked about. You get set in a certain way of habits, and then it just something you form, and then you're like, okay, I got to fix this bad habit that I have, and it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time.
A lot of time, a lot of patience.
A lot of time, a lot of patience. And I'll tell you, I've talked about my faith here a little bit, but it wasn't until I was trying everything on my own, and I was still failing. And like the discipline, I was like, it wasn't working. And then until like I was like, all right, I'm going all in on my faith, And then and that's whenever I started like actually, praying in the morning, getting in scripture, like that was the stuff that really started.
Yeah. You started seeing like the fruits of your labor.
I started seeing the fruits of my labor. At first, I think like most people, I think from our background, I read scripture more as like okay, well, if I do these things and stay disciplined with it, then I'm going to be good, right? Which is not necessarily wrong, but I was having a hard time versus just trying to build a relationship with Jesus Christ and then look at scripture as like, okay, these are practicalities that I can use to stay disciplined. But once I started building a relationship, I was able to get past some of these other, like the anger issues and everything else, right? Because if you just use discipline to do that, it doesn't, for me, it didn't work.
Yeah, it's not effective 100% of the time.
It's not effective 100% of the time,
Right.
So it's funny about discipline. Like you can make discipline work on the things that you want it to work on and then fail miserably on the other things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you see guys in our professions are like, oh, you guys are so disciplined. And I'm like, yeah, on certain things.
Yeah.
If it applies to a work,
don't look over here. Don't look in this closet.
Look at this closet because it is a mess. Yeah.
So, Chastity, what was your experience? Like Terry just kind of said some of the things related to how he navigated that transition. I mean, that's pretty incredible. And so, obviously, you guys got into alignment. But what were you experiencing? Because that's a huge. Not only the transition out of the military, but obviously we went through a personal just chaos. But I can't imagine like the loss of a child as well.
Yeah. I don't really know if I can talk about it.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'll just say, like, and Terry's been on here and
Yeah.
he talked through it a little bit, and I don't expect you to be able to talk about it because I don't think I would be able to
No.
either. Just the thought of it. But I can honestly, like, that's why I wanted you two on here is because you guys are a prime example of, like, never quit and
Resilience.
just resilience and keep pushing forward with everything that you guys have been through. And like I said, I can't even begin to imagine. But just seeing, like, Terry, like, obviously we become friends, and I watch what you do, and, like, I watch the stuff that you put out, and it's all, like, it's done from a good place. It's done with a purpose, and I'm like, dude, if for couples out there, like, if you don't know the story, you can go back and listen to Terry's, to talk about it. But for me, I'm like, if a couple like you with everything that you've been through is able to thrive and keep pushing forward, I'm like, I hope that inspires others, like, because there really is no excuse. It's like you can get out of that dark place and start making your way in the world as a couple together. And you guys are a perfect example of that. which is why I wanted you two to come on here. And I did not expect, for you to
No.
talk about that. It's not at all, and I don't blame you for not wanting to. But I do think that you guys are a shining example of like what a couple can get through together if they both work on it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that no quit like attitude, I think, is what helps
Yes.
us out a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Heck yeah.
yeah.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming on. It was
Oh,
so
yeah, no
lovely to
problem.
meet
Good,
you
yeah.
both.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then if people want to, obviously, Terry, you got what's your
Just my name on
Terry.
the Instagram. Yeah, terry.m.wilson.jr.
Okay, and then for you, do you have any put out like for business wise or no? Okay, good. All right, makes it easy.
I'm socially silent.
I get
Awesome.
it. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, no, we really enjoyed the conversation. I mean, you guys
Yes.
are awesome, and I hope that the listeners get something from this. I know they will.
Yep.
So thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you both.
Awesome.
Out. Hey, what's up, guys? If you've been following me for a while, you know I'm a huge fan and supporter of Firecracker Farm. Alex, the owner, is not only an incredible human being, but he makes an incredible product. And that is why we could not be happier that they are sponsoring the Shoot Me Straight podcast. Each guest, when they come in, will get a sample of Firecracker Farm so they can take it back and enjoy. And I can tell you, to each person that we've given it to, they have not been disappointed. You can put these, put this salt on your favorite food, favorite beverage. I've even seen people put it in their coffee. They love it. There's an assortment of heat, so if you don't like it too hot, they definitely have that taken care of with some mild flavors. And then it goes all the way to extreme heat if you like to sweat. So if you guys are interested in purchasing some, go to firecracker.farm. All right, thank you for listening, and God bless.